We misrepresented. Was down for a while, but now we back in it. Downtown, Petco Park, a new beginning. Let's go. Started back rocking the brown. Ever since we been knocking them down. Baby said she wanna go to the game. Taught her how to say Padres gang. Started back rocking the brown. Ever since we been knocking them down. Mitchell and Ness with the old school name. All of the homies holler Padres gang. Yeah, that.
Welcome on in, everyone. Episode 149 of the Talking Friars podcast and YouTube show. Great home opener for the Padres yesterday, and we got a special guest today, Fox Sports baseball analyst, huge Shohei Ohtani fan, Ben Verlander. Ben, thank you so much for hopping on.
Of course, man. I appreciate you having me.
We got pretty much the Ben and Ben show right now. Yeah, perfect. So let's just get right started into it. The Padres had their home opener yesterday, obviously a huge win, only gave up that Ozzie Albies home run late. Musgrove was great, 6 2/3 shutout innings. Manny, 5 hits and hit a home run. Just great all around. CJ Abrams had, that home run at Petco for his first career at bat at Petco. First guy that's ever done that. Just what were your thoughts overall, on that home opener?
Yeah, it was awesome. I was watching that game. And to see Manny Machado have the day he did was really cool. CJ Abrams hitting that opposite field home run. It was such a cool moment. The Padres looked great, and they looked exciting. The crowd was into it. It was, in my opinion, you couldn't ask for anything more from a home opener. So it was really cool to see. Joe Musgrove is a friend of mine and came on my podcast with Fox Sports recently, and to see him throw the way he did, it was really cool, and it was just a really fun game to watch.
Yeah. And then FS1, obviously, they have Padres-Braves tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow, middle of the day. Braves, obviously, that's kind of my next question here. Where do you put them in the National League in terms of contenders? I have them second behind the Dodgers.
Yeah, that's where I had them to start the year. And to be honest with you, it's been a little – I know the season just started, but without Ronald Acuna, without Mike Soroka, who they obviously didn't have last year, but he's expected back at some point, this team just isn't quite clicking just yet. And I know they will. I know they will be really good at some point. I think they're actually I think they have the potential to be better than they were last year when they won the World Series. You lose Freddie Freeman. That's never a good thing, but they get Matt Olson, who's a good replacement and will be better long-term in the future. And then, you add back a couple of guys. You get Eddie Rosario back, Adam Duvall. Then once you start adding in Ronald Acuna, who missed the second half of the year, and adding back other guys, this team's going to be really good. They're going to be really exciting to watch. And it's just a matter of time until they start clicking. So I had them at the start of the year right behind the Dodgers in terms of the National League. And to start the year, it's just been a little bit of a slow start for the World Series champs.
Yeah, and you mentioned Freddie Freeman. I guess we can pivot a little bit to the Dodgers here. Matt Olson, like you mentioned, is a good replacement. But what did you think of him going to the Dodgers like that? And it didn't seem like for me at least, the Braves kind of just lowballed them. They just, or maybe it wasn't a lowball. They just didn't really communicate as well as I thought they should have, based on how much Freddie has done for them. And then a question off of that is, what kind of impact do you think he'll have with the Dodgers?
Yeah, I'm with you. And it's made me think of the question of, as a Braves fan, if you're a Braves fan, what do you want more? Because Freddie Freeman is, and forever will be, in my opinion, an Atlanta Brave. He's the face of that franchise. He always will be. He won you a World Series. He won an MVP there. The list and the accolades go on. So, yes, he is getting a little bit older and wanted a long-term deal. The Braves clearly weren't willing to do that. But as a Braves fan, do you want Freddie Freeman to remain an Atlanta Brave for life? And even if at the end of that contract, it's probably not going to be a great deal for the team? Or do you want to move on now when he's playing his best baseball and set yourself up well for the future? And that's a tough question to ask, but you're certainly right. The Braves kind of did lowball him. They weren't willing to budge, and they weren't willing to go where he wanted them to go. And as a fan of the game and as a fan of Freddie Freeman and seeing him become a legend in Atlanta, it was tough to see the Braves. I don't want to say treat him like that, but tough to not see the Braves at least make a real legitimate offer to bring him back. And instead, Anthopoulos made the right. If you're looking at it from a competitive standpoint, from now and for the next decade, he made the right move. I don't think there's any arguing that. But there is something to be said about having a franchise icon and treating him right as we get towards the end of his career.
Yeah. And then with the Dodgers, how do you think he'll play into that? Obviously, last night he had that double, I think, in his first at-bat. What do you think his impact's going to be? And just with that lineup, like they're absolutely stacked. I know they lost Pollock, but even they could just have Chris Taylor go right back in there. So he seems like he's going to really fit in well for them, and it's going to obviously make it harder for us, and the Padres to, really contend with them.
That lineup is ridiculous. And adding a guy like Freddie Freeman right there into the middle of it's impressive and it's special. I saw the double last night and the crowd going wild and chanting Freddie, and it just made me really happy for Freddie Freeman. It's not easy for him to uproot his life and his family and leave Atlanta when he was very vocal about wanting to stay there. So for him to go to LA and to get the welcome he did from Dodgers fans and to have that moment where he hits the double, takes off his helmet, and just soaks in the moment was really cool to see. And obviously you put a former MVP, you put a guy that is Freddie Freeman, and you put him right in the middle of the lineup. It's the best lineup on paper in baseball, hands down. And putting it's ridiculous when you start going 1 through 9 and you can name Freddie Freeman right in the middle of that. It's wild.
Yeah. And he could contend, for the MVP this year. I think Manny Machado will as well. Obviously 5 hits last night, hit a home run. Do you think he'll, be in that MVP race? I think Tatis being out maybe could shine the light more on Manny, and that could help him as well, at least early on in the year. Where do you think Manny could fit in that NL MVP conversation?
Well, if he keeps getting 5 hits a night, he'll be right at the top of that MVP conversation. In my opinion, the National League MVP is a little more of a wide open race. So certainly a guy like Manny could win it. He's a stud. I look on the American League, and the names that jump out are Shohei and Vladdy Jr. If Shohei does what he did last year, he's going to win it. If Vladdy does what he probably will do all year, then he can win it as well. And in the National League, you have Juan Soto, you have Bryce Harper who just won it, but with Ronald Acuna missing the first month of the year, with Fernando Tatis missing a couple of months, it's just more of a wide open race. And if the Padres can be really good to start the year, that's going to be on the back of Manny Machado. He's going to have to carry this team. And this far, he's doing just that. So in my opinion, you have to take that into account when it comes to an MVP. If this team ends up being a playoff team, and in my opinion, they will be right around it. They will be fighting for a playoff spot until the last day of the year. If they end up in the playoffs without Tatis for, I don't want to say half the year, but for a good part of the year, that's going to be because of Manny Machado, and you have to take that into account. And if he keeps doing what he's doing, he has just as good a chance as anybody in the National League to win it.
I agree. Before opening day, we'll move to that with your preseason rankings. I saw you didn't have the Padres in your top 10. Why was that? Was that because the offense is a little concerning? No Tatis, didn't know if the rotation was going to stay healthy, didn't know. I don't know. I forget if it was before they got Taylor Rogers on opening day, but didn't really know the closer. What were the reasons why they weren't in that top 10?
Yeah, it was definitely before they got Taylor Rogers, and the Padres. To be honest with you, I am glad you asked, because this was probably the toughest one. Getting down to that 9 and 10 spot are the toughest ones in the power rankings, and the Padres were the hardest ones to not put in. And the reason I ended up not doing it is because of just so many question marks to start the year. And if Tatis was in, if Tatis wasn't hurt, they probably would have been around 8 or 9 to start the year. But without him in, I was concerned about the offense. And there are just so many question marks in that rotation that can be top tier guys. You're just not sure. Like Blake Snell, in my opinion, has the ability to be one of the best pitchers in baseball, but he just wasn't last year. And he certainly has that ability to this year. And what is he going to be? And what is Darvish going to be this year? This was also pre-Sean Manaea, who is fantastic and took a no-hitter into the seventh inning a couple of days ago. And that's a good addition. So they are playing really good. There were just, in my opinion, a lot of question marks that concern me. The offense, the pitch, and this isn't like the offense isn't going to be good or the pitching staff isn't going to be good or there's no back into the bullpen. It was just there's a lot of question marks. And coming off a year last year where it just all fell apart when I was the biggest believer in the world in the Padres, what is this year going to hold? And that's why I had them right in that 11 spot, right out of the top 10 to start the year, because what are we going to get from them? And in my opinion, I was a huge believer in Bob Melvin, and I thought with everything that I had that Bob Melvin would come in and make a massive impact on this team. And it's clear that he, at least to this point, is doing that. So I like the Padres. I like what they're doing, but I kept them out of the top 10 just because Tatis being out really, really worried me about what the offensive production they would be able to get. But little did I take into account that Eric Hosmer is the best hitter in baseball every April. It is wild.
Yeah. And then Jurickson Profar as well. I mean, he's going off as well offensively. He's improving defensively. To add to that, after that first week of the year, you had the Padres in the top 10. Did you really like the pitching out of the gate? I mean, Darvish, Manaea, I know Darvish struggled the second start, but he pitched well the first start. Musgrove had a quality start. Even Nabil Chrismat came in 3 shutout innings in place of Snell, with less than 10 minutes notice on that Sunday game that they blew out the Diamondbacks. So was part of that because of how impressed you were with the rotation and the pitching overall, besides probably that opening day game, that opening night game where the bullpen collapsed in the ninth? Yeah,
those preseason rankings where I had the Padres at basically 11 was pre-Sean Manaea, pre-Rogers, and like I just said, there were a lot of question marks for me, and I felt like in the first week of the year they answered a lot of those question marks. Will this offense be the best without Tatis? No, but it can be good, and it is good. And what can you get from this pitching staff? Will they be good? Will Darvish still be good? Sean Manaea is going to step in. How's he going to do? The answer to those questions were they're going to do fantastic. And then Rogers at the back end of the bullpen, you add him in, he's going to be good. So it was just a pretty easy option for me to say, okay, I had this team just out of the top 10 because of these few question marks. And in my opinion, they answered those question marks and are good enough to be in the top 10 right now.
Yeah. Moving back to last night, I thought it was really interesting post-game. Kevin Acee, Padres beat writer, he was talking to Manny Machado, and Manny told him, I don't know if you saw this on Eric Hosmer, he said, quote, "I'm glad he's here and he's going to continue to be here. If not, I'm going to be very mad person. I'm going to be a very mad person." So it seems like, I know they're, really great friends with one another. They play catch with each other before the game as warming up and all that. But what are your thoughts on those comments? For me at least, look, I understand that they're great teammates and all that, but what is Manny, if you had to choose between one or the other, Hosmer or winning, assuming that Hosmer doesn't keep this up, which one is he going to choose? And I think it's winning. Like, let's say, because he was pointing to the numbers. He mentioned the numbers to Kevin Acee last night. And right now, they look great. But the past 4 years, I know 2020 was shortened, so maybe the 3 years of the 4 years, he has not produced. Entering this year of $80 million of that base salary that he's earned, according to Fangraphs, he's earned less than $5 million of that. So he's just not producing at the level that the Padres are paying him and what fans were expecting him to be in 2018 before that first year started. So if Manny had to pick between one or the other, I think it's winning. So what are your thoughts on those comments that he made?
Yeah, it's crazy. It feels like every April Eric Hosmer does this. He starts off really hot and gets people, maybe we believe in Eric Hosmer again. And look, I understand what Manny Machado is saying, and I understand they like each other. And I'm also going to say that Eric Hosmer is a good baseball player. But it's the contract, and it's the contract that it's really high, and it's hindering this team. It's hindering the Padres. And yes, Eric Hosmer is a good baseball player, but he is not worth what the Padres are paying him every single year, especially to have a hot start and then falter and then just not be great for the rest of the year. They need him to be better. And if Eric Hosmer can continue to do what he's doing, and obviously I'm looking at it now, he's hitting 462. I don't think he's going to be able to continue what he's doing. But I mean, if he can continue to be productive and be a good hitter, then all is great. But if he's not, then this is just a massive contract that you need to get off the table. And it's clearly been hard. And I don't think it's any secret, which makes it even harder on Eric Hosmer. The Padres have been trying to move Eric Hosmer and to move that contract. And for him to come out and have the start to the year that he is, in my opinion, is really special. And to have the players stick up for him is really cool. But he needs to produce. And if not, Manny Machado has to understand, look, yes, he's a good ball player. He can help our team, but he can't help our team enough for the money that he is making every single year. Let's move that contract, free up some space, bring in some good players instead, and move on from there and try and win a World Series. The goal for this Padres team that clearly has all the talent in the world shouldn't be to get into the playoffs. It should be to compete with the Dodgers in the playoffs and to win a World Series. And in my opinion, there's better ways to do that than having a contract that's just bogging up the whole roster.
Yeah. Moving to one of Hosmer's teammates, Jurickson Profar. He's gotten off to a really hot start, just like Hosmer. I also assume, like Hosmer, that this isn't going to, continue. I mean, I obviously hope it does. But if it doesn't continue and it slides off a little bit, do you think that Trent Grisham and Will Myers can help replace that production that Profar is doing right now? Because both have gotten off to slow starts. Grisham didn't. He was one of two guys last night that didn't get a hit. He was striking out. Myers got a hit, but it was a bloop single, or a bloop. I think it was a bloop single. Do you think that they can replace some of that Profar production when it does, I think, inevitably, slide?
Yeah, I think Trent Grisham is a great hitter, and I think it's just a matter of time before he figures it out and turns this around. But we talk about Hosmer and we talk about Profar, two guys that, are you expecting them to keep this up all year? I think the answer has to be no. But what you have to be happy about as Padres fans is you have these guys that are picking up the slack of Fernando Tatis not being in the lineup. And I was saying this before the year, if you can just tread water until Fernando Tatis comes back, that's just going to be great for your team. It's going to open up so many windows. And you have these guys, Profar and Hosmer, that are allowing you to do that. You need to find added production elsewhere when you're missing an MVP candidate kind of guy. They're finding that. So whether this lasts the whole year or not, in my opinion, you shouldn't expect it to, but you should be thrilled that they're doing this while they are. And it's just a matter of time until guys like Grisham and Myers turn. Grisham is really good. Myers has shown that he can be good. So it's a matter of time for those guys. But the fact that the slack of Tatis being out is being picked up by guys that you didn't expect it to be is a really, really good sign for the Padres. And that's why they're playing well, in my opinion, because you're getting guys stepping up when they need to.
Yeah, it's really, really helpful right now. Something that I don't think we were expecting, Profar at least. I think Hosmer, I was expecting him to get off to, a hot start because
he always does.
What he does. But will that continue is the question. But with MacKenzie Gore making his debut tonight, obviously that's very highly anticipated. Big step back last year. Went all the way from AAA to Peoria, where we weren't even seeing what he was doing. Then Ruben Niebla comes in, helps him. They met at Petco Park before the lockout. Niebla told Gore to do some specific things, and he ended up doing that during the lockout. Comes into spring training, really pitches well. Last start in El Paso, his first minor league start of the year, he goes 5 shutout innings. Then Blake Snell has the adductor strain, and that opens up that left-handed starter spot, which they give to Gore. Was on the taxi squad, now he's officially called up, making the start tonight. What are your thoughts, or not just thoughts, but what are your expectations for Gore? I mean, 5 starts his last start, like I just mentioned. I'd take 4 innings, but I'm hoping that he at least gets through 5. Couple runs. What do you think that we should expect from Gore?
I always try and temper my expectations when it comes to a prospect guy making his first ever big league start. I'm so excited to watch him tonight. I think he has the ability to be a great in the game of baseball, and I'm hopeful that he has figured it out. And it appears at least that he has figured something out. So now he's going to test it out in the big leagues, which is never easy against the World Series champions. So, you get your first start. It's against the World Series champs. Your nerves are through the roof. So I always try and temper it because what we see tonight may not be what we can expect from MacKenzie Gore in the future. But I think what the signs you should look for and be happy about is just looking at his stuff. Is he throwing strikes? Is he able to strike guys out? Is he able to get guys out with his stuff at the big league level? And does he have that put away pitch? When he gets ahead in the count, can he put guys away? Well, look, we're gonna see walks tonight. We're gonna see. I'm not expecting him to go out there and not give up a single run over 5 innings again. This is a big league. This is his big league debut. You have to look at it for what it is. He's going to be extremely nervous. He's going to be amped up. He's going to be throwing harder than he probably usually does. His command's going to be a little all over the place. So I look for that. Can he hone all that adrenaline in? Can he bring it together? Can he throw strikes? Can he get guys out? And if he goes out there and throws 4 or 5 innings and gives up a run or two, I think that's a big success in my opinion. And I'm hopeful that he's able to do that because this guy is an electric arm and has the potential to be really good in this game. Yeah.
And then the CJ Abrams, Gil, one of the fans here in the chat, I'm official president of the CJ Abrams fan club. He had a homer last night, 2 hits, I think, on the year so far. So a little bit of a slow start. But in terms of the Rookie of the Year race, NL Rookie of the Year, where do you have him? Do you think he's in the mix? He was my prediction going into this year of who's going to win the National League Rookie of the Year. Gore, I think, is another option, but I just don't know how long he'll stay in the big leagues. Maybe he'll go back down when Clevenger had a rehab assignment last night, comes back up, Snell comes back, something like that. But where do you think CJ stands with that NL Rookie of the Year?
I love watching his game. I think, yeah, you're right. He's off to a little bit of a slow start, but that first home run always tends to loosen you up a little bit. So I'm excited to watch him play now. In terms of Rookie of the Year, I think the favorite is Seiya Suzuki, who's also off to an incredible start, by the way. And to just have a guy that comes over from Japan and has been playing at the highest level over there, I think that helps a little bit. I think it helps to come over and then immediately start producing. For these rookies like Abrams, who's really young and just trying to get his feet wet at the big league level, I think he's going to be great. I'm hopeful he is. I've always liked watching him play. I've been following his career, but I think once he got that home run out of the way, I think it opens up doors for him. I'm excited to see if he can take off now. Like I said, I think the favorite is Seiya Suzuki, but look, the National League is wide open in terms of NL Rookie of the Year, and he certainly has the potential. And like I said, everything comes back to Tatis being out. If Abrams can step in while he's out and become a guy, well, then that's a whole different conversation. Wait, then you're talking about the end of the year coming along, and it's okay. The Padres made the playoffs, and they had CJ Abrams step in and be a big guy for them while Tatis was out. That stuff matters, and I'm hopeful he can be good. I'm hopeful he can be great and be really good for this team while Tatis is out.
What were your thoughts? I see this comment here by Quan here about Suzuki. Did the Cubs overpay the way he's playing? I mean, it's too early to judge that, but in terms of the Padres, did you expect them to get Suzuki? He visited Petco Park. He was meeting with Darvish, but they ended up not getting him. Were you kind of surprised by that?
Yeah, by all accounts, I thought that was going to happen. I thought he was going to go there. And then, I saw this fake account tweet out. I saw this account tweet out this rumor that Suzuki was signing there. Right. That would have been cool. I thought it was going to happen, but it's turned out to be a good pickup for the Cubs. And the comment of did they overpay? Well, we're 6 games into the year, and he's hitting 368 with 3 bombs already. You could argue they underpaid, and you could argue anybody would pay anything for those sort of numbers. So Yeah, that's just why I temper. I like CJ Abrams a lot, but that's why I temper my expectations of Rookie of the Year, because what's happening for the Cubs with Suzuki has been incredible. And to see him play baseball has been really cool. So, no, the Cubs didn't overpay. And yes, I thought he was going to the Padres for sure. And man, that would have been such a good pickup for them. It's like it's the perfect fit for them. So I was hoping that would happen.
Yeah, him and Darvish would have, and Kim, I think they would have definitely, got along. First week of the season here for the Padres, they're 5-3, week or so. What are your initial takeaways, your good, bad takeaways? For me, the pitching stands out as good, obviously. And then some bad. I mean, Robert Suarez, was a closer candidate before they got Taylor Rogers. He hasn't pitched great. Obviously Tatis being out, but we already knew that. What are some of your takeaways so far from the first week of our season?
Yeah, my takeaways so far are that the Bob Melvin effect matters.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the best managers in baseball. He's been dealing with for years a team that has constantly overperformed from the product that they put out there on the field in the Oakland A's. And that's a big testament to him and the manager that he is. And now a team with a lot of talent gets him, and a team that just needs to learn how to win and needs to learn how to win with what they have, because they're certainly talented enough to do it. I just don't think I don't think they had the right guys leading the way, and I think Bob Melvin is the right guy. So that matters. The pitching staff has been fantastic. That's certainly been a positive for me. Seeing those guys at the top of the rotation, adding Sean Manaea, who is a really good pitcher, adding Rogers, who will be great at the back end of the bullpen, has been good. And, to me, so far this year, it's mostly positives for this Padres team. And I don't want to come on a Padres show with you and just blow a bunch of smoke and say, yeah, they're all good. But this is the best start to the year that you could ask for. Obviously, opening day, the bullpen's blown it. If I had to pick, I would say bridging the gap between the starters and the closer is a one spot that needs to get better. But all in all, this has been a good start to the year for a team that, in my opinion, was just on the cusp and will be just on the cusp of making the playoffs. This is as good of a start as you could ask for.
When you talk about bridging that gap as well between the starter and Taylor Rogers, the closer, the thing is the way the starting pitching is doing right now, there isn't many guys that you need to put between that, to bridge that gap. Like these last few nights, obviously last night was a blowout, so they had Pedro Avila in there. But when you get to Taylor Rogers or whatever, you only need one guy. Like Steven Wilson the other day pitched a couple innings to end the game. Like that's all you need sometimes. The way at least we're starting, how the starting rotation's going, and that's another positive for me as well. And then you go back to Bob Melvin, even just the feel. Definitely, you can't even compare him and Jace Tingler. Like you just can't.
No.
The way the feel that he has, and then yesterday, Musgrove pitching, went through 6, and Bob Melvin went up to him and was thinking about taking him out, and then Musgrove said selfishly, "I want him to go that 7th inning," and then Melvin was like, "Hey, you know what? Okay, what if I have you go 2 outs and then take you out so you can get some ovation, that little ovation?" That's having a feel for San Diego and having a feel for your starter. And that's a player manager right there. And just everything that you've heard. And I know that there's sometimes when a new manager gets hired, oh, great move. But here, like, you haven't heard anyone that has said anything that has anything related to, oh man, this guy, some red flag here. Like, it's just not. Like, it seems like he can communicate well with the front office. He's not a puppet for the front office either, though. And it also seems like he can communicate really well with players. You saw Manny smiling ear to ear with Melvin in the dugout yesterday as well. So with Bob Melvin, this seems like the legit job here, the legit person that the Padres could have went out and gotten.
Yeah, I was thrilled the second I saw it happen. I was a believer in the Padres last year. And look, this is nothing against him. I just don't think Jace Tingler was the answer. When you have this really talented team, you don't want it to be led by a guy that doesn't have much experience and hasn't won. So bringing in a guy like Bob Melvin, who in my opinion is a top manager in the game of baseball, it immediately, in my opinion, was a great decision. And it's showing to be the case, and it is. It's little stuff like that. His guy comes off the mound after a great outing and says, "Hey, I want to go back out there." And he says, "Well, I can't let you go full inning, but I trust you. I'll send you back out there. We'll get you an ovation." It's stuff like that that wins over the hearts and the minds of a team. And he's doing that. We're 8 games into the year, and he's already doing that. Padres fans have a real one at the helm there with Bob Melvin. And as a fan of the game of baseball, I love seeing it, man. I love seeing him do his thing there, and I think he is going to be a fantastic fit for this team this year.
Yeah. All right, we got one more question before we get out of here. I really appreciate your time. But before we get to that, this episode is sponsored by GAGLIONE Bros, famous cheesesteaks and garlic fries. GAGLIONEBros.com to view their entire menu. They got 2 locations in Point Loma and in Mission Gorge, located inside Petco Park as well. 3 locations there, 1 garlic fry stand as well. So if you're heading out to MacKenzie Gore's debut tonight, make sure to go get yourself some cheesesteak and garlic fries. Last question for you, Ben. I really appreciate it. So a lot of us here, I'm sure everyone in this chat and watching on replay, watching live, or listening to the podcast, we can't imagine having a brother in the big leagues. And you obviously have one with Justin. And obviously he pitched great, in his return, his first start coming back. What's the feeling like? Whenever, I know it was definitely different, in his first start, right? Because of the emotions, how long he was not there, not with the Astros and recovering. But what are just the emotions start to start of, seeing your brother pitch in the big leagues?
Yeah, it's been wild the last year or so. My brother's 9 years older than me, and all I've known in my life is him pitching. And last year was the first year in my entire life that I didn't get to watch him pitch. So the other night in Anaheim was a really emotional and awesome night for my family. Everybody was on hand. We all got to watch him take the mound for the first time in 624 days. And it was special. And he threw incredible, which obviously I get super nervous for his starts, but I was for so many reasons. He hadn't pitched in forever. He's coming off Tommy John. He had the flu the entire week leading up to that game. I just wanted it to go well. I just wanted him to throw well, and he did, and it was awesome. And now it kind of feels like we're off and running, and I'm able to step back from my role in the sports media world now and just be his brother again and support him and get excited every time it's his 5th day and he's able to start. He'll start on Saturday in Seattle. So it's been awesome. It's been quite the 1.5, 2 years without him pitching, and I couldn't be more happy to have my brother back out there on the mound. It's what makes him happy. It's what makes me happy, and it's awesome to see.
Yeah, I bet. All right, this has been fun. Episode 149 of the Talking Friars podcast and YouTube show. Hope everyone enjoyed it. Ben Verlander with me, Ben Fadden, your host. Thank you so much, Ben, for the time.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, everyone, enjoy MacKenzie Gore night tonight, making his debut in the big leagues at Petco Park on Jackie Robinson Day. Thank you, everyone.